right, JoeyRitter.com, on Twitter at Joey Ritter. Awesome guest today. Very excited. I've got Dan Vapid from Dan Vapid and the Cheats, and also in such bands as Screeching Weasel and the Riverdales. Dan, thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
You got it. Now, I promise you I have all these questions here that are related to you, but I need to quickly mention at the top of the show here. The year was 1995. I was an awkward 8th grader with big glasses and, long black hair. And my very first show was Green Day at the Civic Center in 1995, and the opening band was the Riverdales. And so theoretically, you were the first, because I believe you opened with Fun tonight at that show, you were the first rock vocalist I've ever seen perform live.
Okay, yeah, I think actually we opened with Make Way, I want to say, on that tour. And not Fun tonight, unless we happen to switch it up for some reason that night, which is very possible. But I remember opening with Make Way most nights. So, yeah, I've actually had this conversation with a couple people, too, where they say, "Oh, I was in the 6th grade, man, and you were the first band I ever saw. You guys in Green Day were the first band I ever saw." I was like, "So I was the first band you ever saw?" And then they'd be like, "Yeah, I was." And then I would say, "Well, then I was the first singer you ever saw."
Right.
I would be like, "Yeah."
But that's saying a lot, because there's been a lot of rock concerts since then, so it's saying a lot.
Bon Jovi with the Scorpions, so go figure.
Nice. All right. Well, you did a
I hate to
recent.
admit that, but it's the truth.
What was that?
I hate to admit that, but it's the truth. First band, the opening band. It's the worst band in the world. There's still, yeah. So I have a similar experience. No, not really. Anyway, go ahead. Ask your question.
Well, theoretically, you were my second concert. First rock concert. The first concert was Boys to Men when I was in 5th grade, but we don't need to get into that.
Right.
So you did a recent interview with a website that I'm not going to mention because they never posted any of my interviews, but you were asked, which of all the records you've been a part of do you look back on most fondly? And your answer was My Brain Hurts by Screeching Weasel. And I'm glad you said that, because that album to me was, changed my life in the sense that Green Day Dookie, okay, I want to start learning guitar. Screeching Weasel, My Brain Hurts, I got to get in a band right now and it's got to sound exactly like this. So it was a big album for me, and, it's hard to follow the history of Screeching Weasel at that time because the record before My Brain Hurts was pretty much a completely different lineup. So when you guys were putting that album together, were you, involved in the writing process, or had those songs kind of been written and you kind of got into the mix as the album was made?
Well, we were actually playing in 1989. I played on a 7-inch called Punk House. So I was in the band at that period, and we had gone on tour, and we played on a 10-inch record and a comp, I believe, that Maximum Rock and Roll did. And we broke up for a little while, and we got back in 1991. And I had some ideas kicking around, and then Ben had his songs, and so when we started playing, it was just more like, he would show stuff at like practice, and I would just kind of start singing backing vocals, and he would be like, "Yeah, do that thing," and then right. I'd have like a couple tunes. Like I had like the song Teenage Freak Show I had, but it was actually called Teenage Peep Show, and he just changed the lyrics. So, which he should, because the lyrics are really stupid. But the song was the exact same structure and everything. And then, I had like guest list, and that we kind of worked on that as we came in. But most of the material was his stuff. But when I joined the band, what I kind of added was like the backing vocals. It was just one of those things at the time. A lot of new wave bands were kind of doing it, and I just thought it was kind of neat. And nobody was really doing it, and I was just kind of getting a kick out of it. And I guess he was too. It's almost like a lead vocal, but not really singing anything.
Sure.
So like, it just kind of ran with it. It felt right. It felt good. So doing that kind of thing, kind of going into that album, and it's like the first record where I was in a band where people took my ideas seriously too, which meant a lot. Not any, from Ben and John to Larry Livermore, who put out the record.
Mm-hmm.
So, before that, it was like, oh, Dan's got an idea. Isn't that cute? You know. But I was in bands before that with guys that were much older, and so I was really young, and it was, that was the first band that I joined where, just I think everybody was kind of had the same ideas and was wanted to play songs like, the Ramones and the Dickies and the Buzzcocks. I was really into like the early punk stuff. I was really starting to get into it. Where like a lot of the bands in Chicago at the time were really doing the hardcore thing, which I like that stuff too. But I was really had more of a thing for the punk stuff that had a lot of melody in it.
Right.
So I was really drawn. I was really drawn to that like pretty much immediately. So like bands like the Descendants and Bad Religion and Social Distortion. Those are bands that were even before the pop punk term, but they all had that. They all had a lot of melody in their songs, so I was really kind of gravitating towards that, like really, really early on. So
Right. Well, another album that you played bass on was Anthem for a New Tomorrow. Now, I know you do a lot of guitar stuff now. You're primarily a guitar player. But to me, I think that's a very unsung album in terms of bass playing. I mean, I think,
okay,
there's a lot of good bass lines on that album.
yeah.
And the first Riverdales album, all the early Riverdales albums you played bass on. Is there a certain song where you're like, that bass line's awesome? Is there, a song that sticks out more than most for you?
I was really happy with the bass line on Every Night.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came up with that, I was actually thinking of the bass player from Elvis Costello. I don't really know his name, although I've heard it a bunch of times, but I can't tell you who he is on the top of my head. But he just plays stuff that I really, really like, and he does a lot of stuff. Simple lines. He does a lot of complex ones too, but he uses a lot of octaves. So I was like thinking of him and like Dee Dee Ramone. Like Dee Dee Ramone would always go for that octave of the note that the guitar is playing. So if the guitar is playing an A, Dee Dee Ramone would be playing the octave of that A,
Yeah.
for example. So I kind of the way I looked at it is like I kind of wanted to combine what Dee Dee Ramone would do versus what the basis of the Attractions would do with certain lines, and just kind of fill out the sound more or less. I think bass can really kind of be good to have like a counter melody too. So if you have like a melody, if there's a vocal melody, it can be a good thing to like kind of weave in and out of the main melody of the song, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was trying to do with that album.
Well, I don't know if you get that a lot, because I'm a bass player myself, and that was an album that I really learned a lot of bass lines to as I was learning the instrument, and I just think it's an underrated bass performance by you there. Now, shifting back to guitar, the live album you guys put out where you did the whole My Brain Hurts set in Chicago that I flew out to see, by the way, I feel like I should mention that. You in the song Cool Kids, you did one of those real like Chuck Berry type guitar solos in that song.
Uh-huh.
Is that something, because Screeching Weasel had a lot of those one line melodies, one line guitar
Yeah,
solo
like nursery
melodies?
rhyme kind of thing.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, is that would you rather be playing those Chuck Berry type solos, or is that something that maybe Ben would scoff at?
No, Ben kind of encouraged that for that song, but typically, we would go for the nursery rhyme kind of lead. Um, for two reasons. One is because it was the sound of the band, but the other was that none of us were really that good at playing that kind of rock and roll lead. Like I can play it a little bit, but I'm not really that good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I have like Chuck Berry books, and I would just kind of play and kind of follow the licks, but for some reason, it just doesn't come as naturally to me as I would like it to.
Right.
So
Now I'm not going to talk about this because it's been talked about to death, but obviously you got a great thing going with the Cheats right now, and what happened with Screeching Weasel happened. But my question about that whole thing is, do you feel like the door is completely shut on Screeching Weasel for you, or never say never?
Yeah, for sure. And that's something I can say for certain. I will not go back.
Okay.
Like, play with him anymore.
All right, so shifting gears to the Riverdales. Now I could probably Google this answer, but what was the whole number 27 thing?
27 doesn't mean anything. Don't let Ben Weasel tell you it does. It does not. I've asked him point blank what it means, and he said it didn't mean anything to me. And later on, I heard him one time tell somebody that it meant something, and only he knows, and he'll take it to the grave with him.
Okay.
Not true.
No.
Not true. 27 is a number that just kind of kept popping up with those guys, like with Ben and John. Like there's 27 songs on a demo tape. There's 27 songs, I think, on one of their records. It was one of those things. I think maybe even one of them was born on the 27th day of a month.
Okay, so it was one of those things you just kind of went along with?
Yeah, it's a number that kept popping up for them, and so like after a while it turned into a logo, and after a while people thought it had like this Illuminati kind of like meaning, and it just does not. It doesn't mean anything.
Okay. Now, on the first Riverdale's album, you guys had a line in there that said, there was no lyric sheet included in this album on purpose. And, some people, me, really needed those because I was covering those songs in high school. So I have to ask you a lyric of one of the songs that you sang, which was Back to You. And it's, I believe, the second verse. Something like, and I can't help but I get sentimental, something, 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 drive me mental. Can you fill in the blank?
It's inevitable that I'll go mental.
It's inevitable that I'll go mental.
It's inevitable, yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's been like...
I think the line, it's inevitable you'll drive me mental.
Okay.
It's been a long time since I thought of it, but the actual line, yeah, the word is inevitable.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for clearing that up. That was a huge question I've had for many years. So,
Sure.
Let's talk the cheats here. Your latest album, Torture Chamber, great album. You got classic Dan Vapid sounding songs like Baby Baby Get Over Yourself, and you do a lot of cool new things that I haven't heard you do before, like that song Girl Group, which is like a 50s doo-wop kind of sound. Now when you formed the band, did you kind of say, all right, this project is going to sound like this, or were you just kind of like, I had these songs, these ideas, and it just came out that way?
Well, I had some songs written for the Riverdales, and then the Riverdales were no longer. So I had to make maybe 4 or 5, and I think they're all on that record. And from there, I just kind of kept writing, and I thought, I like these songs, and I thought, I used to go out of my way to not like write songs that were sounding like the Riverdales or sounding like Screeching Weasel and other bands. And then I just kind of got to the point, I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna write an album and just have fun with it and just kind of go with the flow of what I started with. And that's kind of how where I ended up with.
Right. Okay. Well, it's a great album, and I'm excited that I've just kind of discovered it. Now, I know you did some touring with the Queers back in the day, and the one album that has the line about I only drink Bud, and you know the line that I'm talking about. It's Ben Weasel don't know a thing, Rancid don't even drink, even little Vapids on the wagon don't it stink. I just always wondered what you thought of that. Did you know about it, after the album came out, or did he tell you he was writing the line about you?
No, I think he just, just needs song material sometimes, man. He's just grasping at straws. I don't know. I really don't get it. I mean, he probably thought it was kind of funny, and he threw it in there, and that's really kind of the end of it. I don't really know why he'd want to write that, but I guess people get a kick out of it, so I don't know, who am I to say, right? So, I don't know. I mean, there's also the Danny Vapid ain't no faggot. It was like, oh, you faggot, man. I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
Same concept for me. It just sounds like he didn't know what else to write about, so he just kind of threw something together, anything that he can come up with, and that was it.
And you were just kind of like, whatever, big,
right?
You got to do what you got to do. So,
all right, one of these, okay, Joe.
Right. So you are from the city of Chicago, which I had the pleasure of traveling to a bunch of times. Awesome city, probably like my second favorite city. Can you tell me the best place in Chicago to get a hot dog?
Probably the Wiener Circle, or
Okay.
like actually, there's a place called Hot Dogs that does like a bunch of variety of hot dogs. They're kind of like a gourmet hot dog, I guess.
Okay.
There's hot dogs, Wiener Circle, Super Dog. Those are the big ones.
Wiener Circle is the one.
Jeans out like they're out west, like out in Grand.
Okay. Now, Wiener Circle, when I was out for the Screeching Weasel, My Brain Hurts show that you did, I did go to Wiener Circle. And do you know the legend of the chocolate shake there?
You know, I haven't been there in a really long time, so I don't. God, it's been years since I've been there, so I don't really know the legend of the chocolate
Okay,
shake.
well, can I enlighten you?
Sure.
All right. So, my friends took me there, right? And it's like 1 in the morning, bars are letting out, drunks everywhere, they're screaming at everybody. And my buddies kept saying to me, "You got to get the chocolate shake. You got to get the chocolate shake." I'm like, "It's 1 in the morning. I don't want the chocolate shake. I want nothing to do with the chocolate shake." And so the woman at the counter, very large black woman, hilarious, screaming curse words at everybody in line. And my buddy throws down a $20 bill. He says, "Give me the chocolate shake for this guy." And I have no idea what he's talking about. And then all of a sudden, before I even know what's going on, they start turning the lights on and off, flicking like a strobe light. And the woman comes out and she flashes me. And this woman's got to be like 350 pounds. And just
Oh wow.
flashes me.
Okay.
And that was the chocolate shake. And
I heard their characters over there. You know, like I said, it's been a long time since I've been there, but I know that's the place to go. But so you got the chocolate shake.
I got the chocolate shake.
There too?
I was a changed man from that point on. That was
I bet.
2008. Now, are you a Cubs guy or a White Sox guy?
Cubs.
Is that determined by where you live, or do you just pick a team?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the way you grow up
Mm-hmm.
and where you live. Like, and I'm a North Sider, so I'm a Cubs fan, and my family are all Cubs fans, and
Yeah.
that's the way it is, man. You know.
Wrigley Field is just incredible. I mean, you
Yeah.
just, even if you're not a fan of the team, just being there, every single person is in a Cub shirt, just there's just bars, in 2 mile radius of the stadium. It's such a cool place.
It's still the same too. Is like it looks the same as it did when I was a kid for the most part. I mean, there's some very small differences, but like it's still outdoors. There's still the ivy. There's still same building. Everything is still intact and still there. It's pretty cool.
Right. Now you've done a lot of touring over the years, and you've been to Philadelphia, which is where I'm based out of, where the blog's based out of. Do you remember anything about Philadelphia? Have you got to hang out, do the city, do the Rocky Steps, or get a cheesesteak, that kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I did the Rocky Steps for sure, man. Ran up there one night with a writer called Ben Hamper one time. He was going to write about it in the Detroit Free Press, which was pretty funny. We were just kind of around town, like drinking, and then we ran up the steps and just one up and down South Street a lot. And just the place where I got a cheesesteak last time was not on South Street. It wasn't that place. I think it was called Jim's.
Yep, Jim's on South.
Yeah, I went to a different place that I liked a lot more, but it was a little removed from that section of town.
So it wasn't
I can't tell you
Gino
the
and
name
Pat's?
of it, but what's that?
Well, there's Gino's and Pat's, which are the two kind of competing places that are all. I mean, that's like the touristy place right there. So it wasn't any of them.
No, no, but it was like still rated pretty high by people, and it like took me like 45 minutes to get a cheesesteak,
Right.
but it was really good when I got it.
Right.
So yeah. Besides that, I mean, I haven't been to Philadelphia that much. Never been to a Phillies game. Always wanted to. It's just kind of been a thing where I've just kind of been in and out.
Yeah, Citizens Bank Park, if you can get to a Phillies game, totally worth it. It's a lot like Wrigley, except, there's lots of lights and scoreboards and stuff, but it has that same vibe where, this every game's sold out, everybody's wearing Phillies t-shirts, lots of places to walk around. There's unique, when they hit a home run, the Liberty Bell goes back and forth. It's an awesome stadium.
Right.
So you are a married guy, and how old is your son?
He's 1.5.
1.5. And are you kind of have you been introducing music to him at all? Do you play guitar in front of him?
Yeah, well, I mean, I play guitar, but he usually gets kind of annoyed because, they sound like punk rock songs, which probably sounds kind of noisy to him. So, I mean, we'll see what he's into. I'm kind of into just letting him be who he is, and we'll see. I mean, I'd be thrilled if he liked the same stuff I did, but I didn't like the same stuff my parents did, so who knows?
Right. So has your son impacted your songwriting at all?
I don't think he has yet. I mean, but he's still a year and a half, so he's definitely impacted my life in many, obviously, and in a very big way. But as far as songwriting goes, that's yet to be seen. You
Right.
know.
Maybe in terms of subject matter is kind of what I'm talking about, because you just see things so differently, when you have a kid. It's just, I was just curious if it impacted subject matter.
That's actually, well, that's interesting that you say that because I was actually thinking of that today, and I noticed that there's some songs that I really connect to since I've had a baby, like, and it's just songs like about family and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one that I'm really connecting with, like in kind of an extraordinary way right now, is "All Things Good and Nice" by Jester Bazille. It's the last song on Four Cornered Night, if you have that. But yeah, there's certain songs I'm connecting with more because of being a dad.
Mm-hmm.
That Jester Bazille song was one, and it's just because he's talking about his mother, his father, his sister. He says that he loves his mother for all the things she's not. The lines like that are really kind of taking a big. It's making me think of family more, and so like other songs that I'm hearing, kind of based on family, whether it's being together or even fragmented, are kind of having a bigger impact on me lately.
We alluded to Rocky before. I saw on your Facebook page that you are a fan of the movie Rocky.
All right.
Who out of all the people that Rocky fought is your favorite?
Oh, Carl Weathers, man. He was the first. He's my favorite. He's great, man.
Not even Mr.
Carl
T
Weathers,
doesn't hold a candle?
Mr. T was cool. I actually met Mr. T one time. He was he had a comic book, and I had him sign my comic book, and he goes, "What's your name?" I go Vapid. He goes, "Huh, Rapid?" I go, no, Vapid with a V. And he goes, "Ooh, okay." And he signed it, and we got our pictures taken. And he was really small, but he was huge, and he was really great. And kids were asking him, "What does the T stand for?" He goes, "Well, the bad guy, it's tough. For the ladies, it's tender."
Is this recently or back in the day?
No, it's a long time ago. But no, I like Mr. T too. The Clubber Lang character was very good.
All right.
Even Hulk Hogan, he fought.
Yeah.
That was cool.
I'll accept Apollo Creed.
Like Carl Weathers, he's the first. He's the guy for me.
All right, Dan. Last segment we do on JoeyRitter.com is a segment called Turn It Up or Turn It Off. I'm going to name you 5 songs. You simply tell me if you turn it up or turn it off.
All right.
All right? And I don't play them. I don't have the money for that just yet. First song is Mr. Jones by Counting Crows.
Oh, turn it off.
Not a fan.
No.
All right. Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA.
Turn it off.
Turn it off.
Turn it off.
We might have the first 0 for 5 turn it off in the history of the site. Let's see if we can do it. Boys to Men, End of the Road.
Turn it off.
Turn it off. And we got Simon and Garfunkel, Mrs. Robinson.
Yeah, turn it up.
You like that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
I like.
And the last one is TLC, Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls.
I don't know. I've never heard it.
Mid-90s.
I don't think I have.
R&B band. Well, what are some of your guilty pleasures?
Guilty pleasures, like ABBA.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah. SOS. Dancing Queen, stuff like that. Rick Springfield.
That's a good one.
He's a guilty pleasure. Eric Carmen.
Not familiar with that one. Like South Park?
What's that? Lionel Richie is another guilty pleasure.
Okay. All right, those are good. Those are good.
Pretty guilty too, but I'm there. Some Journey, but everybody kind of secretly likes Journey, I think, and ABBA really. At least the people that I've talked to, you give them enough beers and they start talking. You start throwing that on the jukebox. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I kind of like this one.
Well, I could see ABBA being classified as a guilty pleasure, but Journey, come on. I mean, they might be cheesy rock videos, but there's some pretty good songwriting there.
Yeah, well, I think there's good songwriting and everything that I just mentioned. I think Eric Carmen's got great songs, but they're really it's soft rock of the '70s.
Not familiar with Eric Carmen.
Yeah. All by myself.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, Dan. Well, I totally appreciate you doing this. It was awesome to talk to you. Where's the best place for people to check out the cheats?
Come check us out on Facebook. Come check us out on Twitter. Come check us out on Bandcamp. We're all on there. Just and Dan Vapid and thecheats.com. We have our website. And come say hello.
All right, Dan. Thanks again for doing this. Talk soon.
All right, man. Thanks.
See ya.